Okay, so we're gonna jump into the discipleship course, lesson 5, which is the story of Jacob, and our lesson was to give the bare bones of chapters 30 through 32. And the first thing with the bare bones is to entitle it, right? You know, so I entitled it Wartime. You know, because I've seen a lot of battles. It's a lot of battles, you know, so it reminded me of wartime. Now we had some characters, you know. Now I did not view the honorable mentions as characters, such as the birthing of the boys and Dinah. Is pretty much what I kind of envision, like if I'm doing a play or a movie, you know, and so even though they may give birth, they may give a name, you don't really have to see the baby, you know what I'm saying, in the movie, so they don't really have to be a character per se, even though they're you know they're spoken of, you know. So what I have as the characters is Yaakov, supplanter, Yaakov, Esau, and we went through a lot of these names, but Yaakov, Esau, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, Zilpah, Laban, Laban's sons, Reuben, because he did have an integral part, you know, with his mandrakes, and Yahuwah, and an angel of Elohim. You know, so I had 11 characters, 7 males, and 4 females. Now, main characters, as far as main characters go, I had Rachel. She was definitely front and center this time, you know, where she didn't have too large of a role last week. This week she was pretty front and center, you know. Leah, she was another had her as another main character, and then did I have Leah twice? And that wasn't supposed to be. No, that's crazy. That's the PowerPoint. That is not. I did not have Leah 3 times. You know, I don't know why it's doing that. You know. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing that. It's showing me the next slide is Laban, but. All right. Where you at, man? You know, you know, yeah, Laban, you know, so Rachel, Leah, Laban, Yaakov, of course, and Yahuwah, you know, were my main characters. You know, and so then we have the setting, you know, and the setting was Laban's home in Paddan-aram. It was various locations, but Paddan-aram, Laban's estate, and we also had Mount Gilead, Mahanaim, and something's blocking my last one. Oh, Penuel. All right. And come to the plot. The plot of these chapters is centered about warfare. That is warfare betwixt Rachel and Leah concerning who can bear the most children, you know, because there's this this envying going on betwixt, Rachel and Leah. Rachel envious of Leah because she's bearing Yaakov's children, and Leah's envious of Rachel because Yaakov loved Rachel more, And so here it is, they had this sibling rivalry going on over their husband, and so, it kind of gets into this baby having match, and we also see warfare betwixt Laban and Yaakov concerning the flocks and the herds. When it comes to the flocks and the herds, it says that Laban actually changed Yaakov's wages 10 times, so you can see there was definitely a conflict going on there, but, whatever he said that his wages is going to be, Yah, that's what Yah blessed, not only, well, I'll get into that later on my conflict resolution, but, that's what Yah blessed, and so, there was this problem, and it was a problem, even from from the time that after the first 7 years was over, and Laban seeing how blessed that he had became, so he figured, I better extend this guy's stay, and tricked him with Leah and got another 7 years out of him, and then after that, he was getting ready to leave, and he was like, no, I need him to stay a little longer. I'm living too good, and so, he get him to stay some more, for another 6 years, for the cattle, but then he changed his wages 10 times, trying to hold on to his storehouse of wealth, but yeah, I didn't like that, but there was also warfare betwixt Yaakov and the angel or the man, as the text depicts, and Laban's warfare concerning overcoming his wrongs of the past done to his brother. That was also a point of conflict. It was so that was the warfare that I seen going on that as far as the plot, which include many other conflicts, which is coming next. So we have conflicts and conflict resolutions, which I pretty much touched on a bit, but we have Rachel versus Yaakov. There's a conflict betwixt those two. Rachel gets mad at Yaakov because she's not getting pregnant. Yaakov didn't take kindly to getting blamed for something he didn't have any control over. It says he got angry, with her, like, what you blaming me for? It's not my fault, So yeah, that was a conflict, but that conflict was resolved by Rachel giving her handmaid Bilhah to Yaakov and bearing children through her. And so that kind of smoothed that over, And we had another conflict with Rachel and her sister Leah, and as I said, there was a conflict betwixt Leah and her lack of love from her husband Yaakov, and there's a conflict with Rachel and Leah. Rachel envied Leah because she was having children and she wasn't, and so it led into this baby making battle, who can give them the most kids, and when they could bear no longer or couldn't bear it all, then they pulled the handmaids into the fight. Okay, well, here, take her, have me some more kids. Oh, that's how you want to play? Okay. I have a handmaid too. Here, take Zilpah, and so the kids just kept rolling on out. There's another conflict with Yaakov versus Laban. Yeah, Now, and this was over how Yah had chosen to prosper Laban while simultaneously bankrupting, prosper Yaakov while simultaneously bankrupting Laban. You know, no doubt to his unscrupulous behavior, as I aforementioned, he changed his wages like 10 times, you know, but, you know, Yah didn't take kindly to that, you know, and so what the passage come to mind that the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, you know, and so what we see here is that Yah, you know, was actually prospering Yaakov while bankrupting Laban at the same time, you know, and so by the time it was ready for Laban to go, you know, for Yaakov to go, Laban was kind of upset because, you know, he was back where he started with nothing, just about. And the few sheep that he did have, the cattle that he did have were weak and feeble. You know, and he's looking at Yaakov's, and all his are strong and strong and powerful and bearing plenty of kids, and you know, they jumping around, and his is, you know, hobbling along in the field, you know. You know, yeah, I can see how Laban was a bit upset, you know. Him and his sons, like, what this guy do? You know, but it was Yah. It wasn't Yaakov per se, you know. And so this conflict was resolved by Yah appearing to Laban in a dream and warning him concerning how he used to treat Yaakov. And that is not to say anything to him, good or bad. You know, now I have some points of interest. Why would Laban think that the women, the children, and the flocks were still his? Why was it important that we know how many days head start that Yaakov had and how many days it took for Laban to overtake him? Now we got to keep in mind that this is scripture. This is divine. Nothing there by happenstance. So why was it deemed necessary that we needed to know this? Say loud. Why was it important that we knew that they were in Mount Gilead? You could have just as easily told that same narrative by just saying, hey, you know, Laban came back, found Yaakov gone, and, you know, he had took off and he chased him down and caught him. And he had this dream not to touch him right before he caught him. And so they end up having a covenant, and that would have been in the story. Why are these specific details given? What are they to teach us or make us aware of? Amen. Amen. All right, then we have another conflict with Yaakov and Esau. Now, this conflict was in large part a conflict betwixt Yaakov and himself, due to the guilt Yaakov felt over cheating Esau out of his blessing. You know, so this is why he had these inhibitions about going back, because of the threat that Esau had made before he left. But granted, that was 20 years ago. You know, surely he's not still upset over that little thing, you know, from 20 years prior, you know. But when he found out that he was on his way with 400 men, you know, he had other considerations. Well, maybe he's still hot under the collar about it, you know, and so he's having this conflict within himself, you know, so much so that, you know, it causes him to go to pray to Yah about it, you know, and then he devises this plan, you know, to, you know, smooth things over with his brother Esau, you know, especially seeing that it appears like the blessing came true, you know, because he's quite blessed on his way back, you know, at least materially, you know, and so, and he had his times, you know, with Yah speaking to him. So, hey, yeah, so appears that everything's, you know, working out. And so he tried to make amends with his brother Esau, you know, before running into him. You know, now it has yet to be, this conflict has yet to be resolved, you know, but it's in the coming chapter. Okay, so besides this, we have another, bless you, we have another conflict betwixt Yaakov and the angel. So there's a conflict betwixt Yaakov and an angel of Elohim, or a man, you know, as the scripture speaks of. Yet we're not told why this conflict came about. Only that a man wrestled with Yaakov, but couldn't prevail against him. You know, and Yaakov calls him an one of the Elohim, an El. You know, this is a very interesting passage indeed. Very, very interesting passage indeed. You know, so seeing that it was so interesting, I of course have some points of interest. You know, such as, why did the angel attack Yaakov prior to the crossing of a river? Anybody take note of that? Anybody wonder why that was? Why did we need to know the name of the river was Yabuk? Why did scripture tell us that? Why did it feel we needed to know that? But even more so, why did we need to know that Yaakov had first sent his family and all he had across the river? I think Brother John, he had the meaning of your book. Selah. I'm not asking for it. I know what it means, but just hint. Why did we need to know that Yaakov first sent his family and had all that and all he had across the river Yabuk first? And then why did the angel attack Yaakov during the night? Anybody wonder about that? And even more importantly, why was the angel so concerned about being released from the wrestling match at the breaking of the day? Think that means something?
Yes.
I figured we'll get into this a little bit. Then I said, nah. To be continued. All right. Next week's lesson is do the same thing. We're doing the bare bones. And we're going from chapters 33 to 35. 33 through 35.
We'll be going to address these questions next week too, right?
Probably not. That's why it's a point of interest. You know, the points of interest, I like to throw them in there to make you guys think. You know, and it is a discipleship course. It's for you to look into it, study it out. Signing off.